Latest development across African economy, security politics, and international relations. Today is March 23rd, 2026. Tatafone News report. In Africa is currently facing a mix of economic challenges, security tension, international diplomacy, and technology transformation as governments across the continent respond to global economic pressure and regional conflict. From rising food prices to new international partnership and security concern in conflict region, the continent is undergoing a significant changes that may shape African political and economic direction in 2026 and beyond. Economic pressure and food security concerns. Several African countries are currently facing economic pressure due to global events, especially rising oil prices, fertilization costs, and transportation expenses. Analysts warn that this development could lead to a food crisis in part of Africa if urgent measures are not taken. Agricultural production across many African countries depend heavily on imported fertilizer and fuel for transportation. With global supply chain disrupted and prices rising, farmers are finding it more expensive to produce food, which could eventually lead to higher food prices across markets in Africa. Countries in East and West Africa are already reporting increases in the cost of rice, maize, wheat, and other staple foods. Economists say inflation may continue rising if government do not provide subsidies or support for farmers. Experts have warned that food security could become one of the biggest challenges facing Africa in 2026, especially in countries already dealing with economic hardship and climate change effects such as drought and flooding. African expand international partnerships. In international relations, African countries are increasingly looking beyond traditional partners in Europe and North America and building stronger economic ties with Latin America and Asia. African Union leaders have been encouraging member states to diversify trade partnership and reduce overdependence on a few global markets. Nigeria and several other African countries recently participated in economic discussion with Latin American countries focusing on trade, agriculture, education, and technology cooperation. Diplomatic experts say Africa is trying to position itself as a major global economic partner rather than just a supplier of raw materials. New agreements are expected in Africa in areas such as energy, agriculture, digital economy, digital technology, and infrastructure development. These partnerships are expected to create new export markets for African products and encourage foreign investment across the continent. Rising debt across Africa countries. Another major issue currently facing African economics is rising national debt. Many governments borrow heavily in recent years to fund infrastructure projects, stabilize the economy after global economic downturn, and manage public spending. International financial institutes have expressed concern that some African countries may struggle to repay loans if economic growth slows down. Governments are now being advised to increase local production, improve tax system, and reduce unnecessary spending. Economic analysts says debt itself is not a problem if the borrowed money is invested in productive sectors such as infrastructure, agriculture, education, and industry. However, if loans are used mainly for recurrent expenditure, countries may face financial difficulty in the future. Several African finance ministers are now focusing on policy that will increase export, industrialization, and job creation to strengthen the economy. Security crisis in Sudan and Sahel region has become imminent. Security remains a major concern in part of Africa, particularly in the Sahel region and Sudan. The conflict in Sudan has continued to create inability and humanitarian challenges, with thousands of people displaced and many crossing into neighboring countries. There have also been growing tension along borders region, rising fear that the conflict could affect neighboring countries if not properly managed across diplomatic effort and peace negotiation. Security analysts says inability in the Sahel region continue to affect countries as Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, where military governments are currently battling insurgency and terrorism. Regional organizations and international bodies are calling for peace talk, stronger security cooperation, and economic development programs to address the root cause of insecurity, including poverty, unemployment, and political instability, fuel price increase, and cost of living in Southern Africa. Rising fuel prices are becoming a major economic issue, particularly in South Africa, where petrol prices increases are expected to affect transportation, food prices, and general cost of living. Economists warn that when fuel prices increase, transportation costs also increase, which leads to higher price of goods and services. This could increase inflation and put pressure on household and small businesses. Governments across Africa are now considering different options, such as fuel subsidies, public transportation investment, and local refinery development to reduce the dependency on imported fuel. Technology and digital economic growth in Africa. Despite the economic and security challenges, Africa technology sector continues to grow rapidly. Many African countries are investing in digital economic development, technology innovation, and data infrastructure. Countries like Kenya, Nigeria, Ghana, and Rwanda are becoming technology hub in Africa, attracting setup of an investment in financial technology, digital payment, e-commerce, and artificial intelligence (AI). Experts believe the digital economy could become one of the biggest sources of job creation for young people in Africa if government invests in education, internet access, and innovation hubs. The technology sector is also helping government to improve services such as digital identity system, online tax payment, electronic voting system, and digitalized healthcare services. Climate change and environmental changes. The climate change continues to affect many African countries through flooding, drought, desertification, and extreme weather conditions. Farmers in several regions are experiencing unpredictable rainfall patterns which affect crop production. Environmental experts are calling for stronger climate policies, irrigation system, and investment in climate resilient agriculture to protect food production and rural livelihood. African leaders are also pushing for climate funding from developed countries to support environmental protection and renewable energy projects across the continent. In conclusion, Africa in 2026 is facing a major combination of economic pressure, security challenges, and rising cost of living. But at the same time, the continent is making progress in technology development, international partnership, and economic transformation. The major issue currently shaping Africa include rising food prices, government debt, regional conflict, fuel price increases, and climate change. However, opportunities exist in African technology, trade partnership, infrastructure development, and youth entrepreneurship. Analysts believe that Africa's future economic growth will depend on industrialization, agriculture modernization, technology development, and political stability. If government focus on this area, Africa could become one of the fastest growing economic regions in the world in the coming decades. Africa remains a continent of both challenges and opportunities, and the decision made by leaders today will play a major role in shaping the continent's future. I am from Tatafo of Africa. Thank you.